This was Mike's one major contribution to Effect V4. The only thing he put his hands on, folks. You heard me say it here first. This is the only thing that Mike laid his hands on in Effect V4. Everything else was done by the rest of us. I'm just kidding. Where is Logger? Mike and I, one afternoon, this was months ago, one afternoon worked together to fix Logger. Let me see. Okay. Let's see if we can look at an example here. Okay, so in Effect V4, if you want to create a layer with multiple loggers in it, you would just call logger.layer. And maybe it's actually easier if I just open a terminal and show some code, because it's not really going to mean anything without
seeing it.
I can see all my panicked commits from trying to get V4 to publish.
Last minute ship to production.
Let's import effect and let's import logger. So the logger module in V4 has been kind of reorganized. So in the logger module now, we have the loggers themselves are named without the layer prefix. I think this is how we did this. Oh no, I think we actually just made everything loggers. Yes, okay. And I remember now. It's all coming back. So when Mike and I worked on this, originally we had all the individual loggers like console JSON, console log format, console pretty, console structured, and then we also had layers to go along with all of them. And then you had to like do the same dance of like replacing the loggers that existed, et cetera, but we really weren't satisfied with that API. It kind of, as most of you know from V3, the replacing loggers and like adding loggers to your program, those APIs kind of suck. So in V4, we wanted to simplify it. So let's say that we want to create a layer that adds, I don't know, Mattia, what loggers do you want to add
I want
to our program?
a pretty logger, but I also want to log it as JSON.
Okay, so we're gonna have a pretty logger and a JSON logger.
Yeah,
and we'll put both of them. We'll do console for both of them. So in Effect V3, you had to like first you had to replace the default logger, and then you had to add the second logger to your loggers, and everything was layer, and it was really annoying. In Effect V4, logger layer, or maybe we can say layer logger, since this is kind of the pattern we're trying to introduce now. Layer is like a prefix for layers. In Effect V4, you just call logger.layer, and you pass in an array of loggers. And that's it. And you may be asking me, or maybe thinking, well, what if my logger is produced effectively? Well, that's fine. Logger.layer supports both loggers directly and effects that produce loggers. And then you may also be asking, you may also be thinking, well, what if I want to make sure this is merged with any existing loggers or replace the existing loggers? That's fine. There's an options object, merge with existing. You can set it to true. And then this will get merged with any existing loggers in the program already. So this layer would get merged with any existing loggers. So you could have theoretically like, I don't know, many of these different layers in your program. And as long as you set merge with existing true, then it will merge with the existing loggers. I think it's set to true by default. We should probably document that. Or maybe it's set to false by default. Hang on. It's false by default, I think. Yes.
Yeah, it's false by default. Which kind of makes
So
sense, because if now you are providing a layer with loggers, and that kind of like replace the loggers of your application. And yes, Mike,
Mike,
this is the most genius thing
yeah,
in Effect
Mike,
before.
Mike chiming in with, this is the most genius API of Effect v4. Clearly, the only API that Mike actually touched. So this is literally all you need now, is logger.layer and the loggers you want to add to your program. And then, like, provide layer logger effect run promise.
And now I just need a program. Oh, well, my fault.
Why is this telling me it's not used? I want to start a tmux session, and I want to go back in, and I want to go to Scratchpad. So, this is probably something that we should mention somewhere in the migration docs, maybe like front and center. Effect v4 is ESM only. we are dropping support for CJS. I repeat, Effect v4 is ESM only. They're only publishing ESM compatible packages.
Ring the bells and
Scratchpad
turn off the
logger.
alarms.
So now you see,
Yes,
we get both the pretty logging, and then we also get JSON logging, because they've both been added to our program.
Just want to say that Tej just said, did he just say dropping support for Tej.js?
That's
I
right.
am not alright.
We're dropping support for Teej.
Tej.
Teej is not allowed to write effect anymore, starting with v4. Sorry, Teej. My bad.
But you can still allow LLMs do it for your belief.
Yeah, so logging got much simpler. At least adding loggers and changing loggers and everything like that should be much simpler now. But like the loggers in your program, if you look at the implementation under the hood, you'll notice that it is delegating to this current loggers thing, which is just a reference, a service map reference. So if you wanted yourself to modify that reference directly, you can do it with just provide service, just like we showed in the migration docs. References.current logger. I think it actually might be in the logger module. Logger. Need to probably put this in the references module too. And then you would just put your loggers in here, right? So like everything that was previously fiber refs now just builds on top of the concept of like services, and is much simpler.
So that way, for example, I can
Changing
imagine...
my name to Kit Langdon v4.
So I was saying that taking advantage of that pattern, for example, we can have one of the logs provide only a different logger, and we will have one of the two effect log run only with the pretty one, for example, and the other one running with both of them, which are the defaults. Just saying, I've seen a question asking that, but yeah.
All right.
It's an array, yeah. I need to make an array as parameter.
Okay. And this should, if we run this now, our first log is only logged with the log format logger, and then the second one is logged with both. So again, this is just like standard service provision to override like outer services. Like there's no new concepts that need to be introduced here. There's just what you already know about effect services you can use to apply to services that have a default.